Hello everyone! Today we're going to explore an incredibly impressive construction. A man building a wooden and bamboo house on large rocks beside a river. He began by meticulously clearing all the plants and grass around the rocks to prepare the area for construction. This step ensured a clean and stable workspace while also highlighting the beautiful natural landscape of the rocks. Once the area was cleared, he carefully selected and brought several sturdy bamboo poles to the site. Using these poles, he started constructing the foundation by arranging the bamboo on top of the rocks in a rectangular shape. This layout served as the primary frame for the floor, designed to distribute weight evenly across the uneven surface of the rocks. To reinforce the frame, he added more horizontal bamboo pieces across the rectangular structure. He secured the entire frame by nailing the bamboo pieces together, creating a solid and reliable base for the house. Next, he took thin ropes made from natural fibers to tightly secure the floor frame at the points where the nails were driven. This extra binding ensured the frame would remain stable and durable, even under pressure or movement. Each knot was tied with precision and care, ensuring the bamboo frame was not only structurally sound, but also capable of withstanding the natural elements over time. He carefully tied every joint around the entire perimeter of the floor, making sure each knot was firm and precise. This step not only added strength to the structure, but also enhanced its aesthetic appeal with a traditional touch. Once the binding was complete, he moved on to trimming the excess bamboo pieces extending beyond the frame. Using a handsaw, he carefully cut off the protruding ends of the bamboo poles, making the edges of the floor neat and aligned. After completing the preparation of the floor frame, he brought several sturdy wooden planks to the site. With the planks ready, he began arranging them on top of the bamboo frame. Each plank was placed meticulously, ensuring they fit snugly together with no gaps in between. This careful alignment not only enhanced the structural integrity of the floor, but also gave it a clean and seamless appearance. He continued laying the planks one by one, gradually covering the entire frame with a uniform and even layer of wood. Once all the planks were laid out, he proceeded to secure them in place. Using nails, he fastened each plank tightly to the bamboo frame below. He worked methodically, ensuring that every nail was driven in firmly to prevent any movement or loosening over time. To make space for the house's structure, he climbed up the tree with a saw in hand. Once positioned securely, he began trimming the branches that stretched over the floor. After cutting down the branches, he descended from the tree and started gathering the fallen debris. Using both his hands and tools, he cleaned up the branches and leaves scattered around the construction site. This step was essential to ensure the area was free of obstacles, allowing for smooth progress in the upcoming stages of building. After clearing the area, he brought several long bamboo poles onto the floor. He began by taking one bamboo pole and positioning it vertically through a pre-drilled hole in the floor frame. This pole would act as one of the primary pillars of the house. Once it was securely in place, he moved on to prepare additional bamboo sections. Using a saw, he cut the bamboo into appropriate lengths for the remaining pillars. One by one, he inserted the bamboo poles into the designated holes on the floor frame, ensuring each was perfectly upright. To strengthen the structure, he secured the poles firmly at the base by nailing them to the frame. Using a saw, he trimmed each pillar so that all their tops were level, slightly above his head, ensuring a uniform height for the house frame. Once the tops were even, he used a knife to carve grooves into the tops of each pillar, These grooves were precisely cut to hold the horizontal bamboo beams securely in place. He then selected 2 long and sturdy bamboo poles and positioned them horizontally across the tops of the vertical pillars. To strengthen the frame further, he added 2 additional vertical support pillars in the middle of the structure. These new pillars were positioned to provide extra support for the horizontal beams, reducing any potential sagging or instability over time. He prepared 2 more bamboo poles by carving grooves into their ends. These poles were placed horizontally along the outer edges of the existing horizontal beams, creating a rectangular outline for the roof structure. Finally, he placed several shorter bamboo poles horizontally across the 2 main beams. These cross beams were evenly spaced and securely fastened, providing additional strength and forming the base for the roof. Next, he added a short horizontal bamboo pole in the middle of the rectangular frame, carefully securing it in place to ensure stability. From this horizontal pole, he attached a single vertical bamboo pole that extended upward, becoming the highest point of the roof. Starting from the top of the vertical pole, he carefully attached long bamboo poles, one by one, extending them diagonally to the 4 corners of the rectangular frame below. The roof frame started to resemble the shape of an umbrella. From the lower edges of the roof frame, he began by cutting 4 bamboo poles to the appropriate lengths and securely attaching them around all 4 sides of the roof. These horizontal poles form the base outlines of the roof's 4 faces, creating a clear boundary for the roofing structure. Next, he continued by fastening additional horizontal bamboo poles from the base upwards, carefully spacing them along each side of the roof frame. These poles served as support beams, adding strength and stability to the roof while creating a grid-like framework. This methodical process ensured that each section of the roof frame was evenly reinforced, providing a strong foundation for the roofing materials. Once the beams were in place, he used a saw to trim any excess bamboo, leaving the edges clean and precise. With the primary roof frame completed, he brought bundles of thin bamboo strips to the site. He carefully arranged the strips across the roof, starting at the peak and working his way down each side, positioning them like a network of delicate bamboo ladders, stretching from the highest point of the roof down to the lower edges of each frame. Once the strips were laid in place, he securely attached each one to the frame of the roof. Using nails, he fastened the bamboo strips carefully at each connection point, ensuring they were tightly held and evenly spaced. The nails helped secure the strips firmly to the bamboo frame, giving the roof structure added strength. This process transformed the roof into a pattern resembling a spider web, where each bamboo strip formed a part of the framework that would make the roof easier to cover with the final materials. The crisscross design helped to distribute the weight of the roofing and provided a solid foundation for laying thatch or other roofing materials in the next steps. This delicate network of bamboo strips not only enhanced the structural integrity of the roof, but also provided an even surface for laying the roofing materials later. Once the structure was complete, he noticed that some of the bamboo strips extended beyond the edges of the roof frame. Using his saw, he carefully trimmed off the excess strips along the lower edges, creating a clean, uniform look. Afterward, he brought bundles of dry grass mats to the site, which would serve as the roofing material. Starting at the lower edges of the roof frame, he began laying the dry grass mats across the bamboo framework, one piece at a time. Each mat was carefully positioned to cover the structure, ensuring that the overlapping layers would provide adequate protection from the elements. To secure the mats in place, he used strong twine to tie them to the bamboo framework. The knots were tied tightly at various points, ensuring that the grass mats would stay firmly in position even in windy conditions. Once he completed the first section of the roof, he moved on to the next section, repeating the process of laying the mats and securing them with twine. He worked steadily, gradually covering the entire roof from the lower edges to the peak. With each layer of grass securely fastened, the roof was nearing completion. Next, he began preparing the bamboo poles for the walls. He carefully carved grooves at the ends of the bamboo poles, which would allow them to fit securely into the frame. Once the grooves were made, he positioned the horizontal bamboo pole at the bottom edge of the vertical pillars to form the lower frame of the wall. He then added another horizontal bamboo pole at the top edge of the pillars to create the upper frame, effectively forming the structure for the wall. This framework would later provide the structure needed to hold the wall materials in place, ensuring stability and durability. After completing the first wall frame, he repeated the process for the remaining walls. He carefully measured and carved the ends of the bamboo poles, securing the horizontal poles at both the top and bottom edges of each set of vertical pillars. With each wall frame, the house began to take shape more clearly, as the framework for the walls was now in place. Next, he secured a horizontal bamboo pole across the middle of the rear wall frame. This pole provided additional support to ensure the structure of the wall would be stable and solid. Once the horizontal support was in place, he began laying bamboo mats vertically along the rear wall frame. He carefully positioned each mat from one side of the wall to the other, making sure they fit snugly and covered the entire frame. To further reinforce the structure, he added a thin bamboo pole horizontally across the front of the wall. Moving on to the side wall, he began by arranging the bamboo mats in the lower section of the wall, stacking them up to a height that matched his waist. These mats were placed carefully to cover the space evenly, creating a solid base for the wall. Once the lower section was done, he added 2 vertical bamboo poles at the top of the section to form a square opening, which would serve as a window frame. These vertical poles were positioned symmetrically, ensuring the window frame would be centered and aligned. After securing the vertical poles, he continued by adding bamboo mats along both sides of the window frame. These mats filled the remaining spaces of the wall, completing the structure and reinforcing the sides of the window. Moving on to the opposite side wall, he started by constructing the window frame first. He carefully positioned the vertical bamboo poles to create the desired window opening, ensuring they were aligned and securely in place. Once the window frame was set, he began filling in the space beneath it by laying bamboo mats across the lower part of the frame. The mats were placed evenly, ensuring a tight and secure fit to complete the lower section of the wall. Next, he focused on the sides of the window frame, where he carefully arranged additional bamboo mats along the left and right edges. These mats were added to fill in the remaining space on either side of the window. Moving on to the front wall, he began by securing 2 vertical bamboo poles in the center of the frame to create the main door frame. These poles were carefully positioned to ensure the door would fit perfectly within the opening, providing a sturdy and functional entrance to the house. Once the door frame was in place, he began laying thin vertical bamboo poles along both sides of the door frame. These poles were arranged closely together to form the structure of the front wall. The main door frame stood prominently in the center, flanked by the bamboo poles that made up the surrounding wall. Moving to one side of the front porch frame, he began by securing horizontal bamboo poles across the vertical posts, stretching from the front wall of the house all the way out to the porch column. This step was essential for creating a solid foundation for the porch structure. By securing these horizontal poles, he effectively formed two rectangular frames, one at the top and one at the bottom, ensuring the overall strength and alignment of the entire porch. The bottom frame was filled in by inserting thin bamboo poles horizontally. For the upper frame, he carefully placed several vertical bamboo poles within the rectangular shape, creating evenly spaced openings. After completing one side of the front porch, he moved to the opposite side of the porch to construct a similar wall. He began by securing the same horizontal bamboo poles across the vertical posts, just as he had done on the other side. He carefully arranged thin bamboo poles horizontally, inserting them snugly between the vertical posts. For the upper part of the frame, he inserted vertical bamboo poles to create rectangular openings. At the front of the porch, he began by securing two vertical bamboo poles in the center of the frame, positioned perfectly to define the main entrance. Once these vertical poles were securely in place, he started attaching horizontal bamboo poles to both sides, extending from the center poles out towards the porch columns. These horizontal poles were positioned evenly, creating a solid and balanced structure on both sides. Next, he took a long bamboo pole and sawed it into evenly sized shorter sections, each about the length of his knee. Once these shorter pieces were prepared, he began securing them vertically around the perimeter of the house's floor to serve as the posts for the railing. These bamboo posts were carefully spaced out, ensuring they were evenly distributed and securely fastened to the ground, creating a sturdy framework for the railing. After the vertical posts were in place, he moved on to another bamboo pole, this time carving evenly spaced grooves along its length. The grooves were cut at regular intervals, matching the distance between the vertical posts, creating a uniform design. Once the bamboo pole was prepared, he secured it horizontally on top of the vertical posts, attaching it to form the upper rail of the fence. This added another layer of strength to the structure and helped bind the posts together. With the railing now in place, the house had a more defined and secure boundary around the perimeter of the floor, offering both protection and a neat finished appearance. Next, he brought several pieces of bamboo to the side of the house. He began by securing one of the bamboo poles to a horizontal branch that was growing parallel to the house's floor. After fixing the bamboo pole to the branch, he began adding other bamboo poles, stretching them from the edge of the existing floor to the horizontal branch. Once the bamboo poles were in place, he arranged thin bamboo strips across the new frame, laying them closely together to form the surface of the extended floor. These strips were carefully aligned and then secured with nails to ensure they were firmly attached to the frame. The addition of these thin bamboo strips provided a sturdy and functional surface that would be able to support weight. After the new floor was complete, he took a saw and trimmed the excess bamboo protruding from the edges of the frame. After completing the new extended floor, he moved on to building a railing around it for safety and support. He began by cutting additional bamboo poles and attaching them horizontally around the perimeter of the new platform, just as he had done with the main floor. This provided a solid frame for the railing. Next, he inserted vertical bamboo poles into the gaps of the horizontal frame. He took several bamboo poles and sawed them into pieces, then constructed a rectangular frame and placed it in one corner of the new platform. This frame would serve as the base for the kitchen area. To protect the kitchen from the wind, he then attached two bamboo panels to the sides of the frame. He began to line the floor of the kitchen with a layer of leaves. Next, he dug a small amount of earth and carefully poured it over the layer of leaves, setting the foundation for a fire pit. He fixed a small staircase from the ground up to the edge of the platform. The staircase was built with bamboo poles. He brought a bundle of firewood to the kitchen area and carefully arranged it in the fire pit. Once the wood was in place, he sparked a fire, carefully tending to it until it began to burn brightly. Next, he took 2 skewers of meat and placed them over the open flames, letting them roast slowly on the fire. The fire's warmth and the sizzling sounds of the meat added to the sense of comfort. Once the meat was perfectly cooked, he sat down beside the fire. With a sense of satisfaction, he began to enjoy his meal, savoring the flavors and appreciating the hard work that had gone into building his new home and kitchen. I hope you enjoyed watching the process of building this amazing home and kitchen.